Hello and welcome to the Darkling Thrush analytical video take 2. Let's see if this one is better. My goal is to plan this better and manage my time better. So let's see if I'm successful. We will look at imagery in this video. The imagery that we can see in the Darkling Thrush, and let me tell you, this poem is full of imagery. Firstly, so the themes in this poem are renewal, life in darkness, and finding joy when circumstances seem dire. Dire means terrible. There are other themes in this poem as well, which we will look at in class later on. But for now, look at these. And because of these themes, the Darkling Thrush contains many examples of powerful and expressive imagery. Expressive imagery means imagery words that Hardy uses, which you can really see the pictures in your mind of what he wants you to see. So the first image we come across in the poem, in stanza 1, line 2, is when frost was spectra grey. So remember that spectra is a ghost or ghost-like. So spectra grey likens the frost and the dusk of the day. Dusk means when it's almost nighttime, when the sun is going down. It likens the frost to a ghost, which gives you the image of the ground and the area where this poem is set. It looks ghostly, and it gives the poem an uneasy feel, an uneasy atmosphere, as if the frost is evil and malevolent. It's a malevolent force instead of simply cold, which is what frost is. So probably pause this video now and highlight spectra when frost was spectra grey and make some notes. Okay, still in stanza 1, line 4, the weakening eye of day. As the day is ending, its eye, or the sun, is weakening, and the ghost or the spectre of the frost is fighting against the day's eye and forcing this eye to close. Another very powerful imagery there of the day and the eye of the day and the sun. In stanza 2, the narrator, it's first person narrator, and we can see that from the very first word of the poem, I leant upon a coppice gate. So in stanza 2, the narrator refers to the land as seemingly dead, with his crypt the cloudy canopy, the wind his death lament. So remember that crypt is like somewhere where people are buried, and a death lament is a song that is played when people die. So it's like the land is dying. This is also personification, which we'll look at later. Both of these lines, eye of day, line 4, and the crypt in stanza 2, show the world as a living creature, or personification. So those are personified. And the world is being slowly killed by the darkening days of winter and the encroaching frost. Encroaching means to come closer. The clouds that are overhead are the canopy, which means a ceiling, adorning a crypt. So the ceiling of the tomb, while the wind sings a funeral song in the world's honor. Again, pause it here, highlight and make some notes. Ellie. Sorry about that, my dog wanted in on the video action. So the thrush, the imagery that Thomas Hardy uses to describe the thrush. He describes him as frail and gaunt and small, being attacked by the weather, the wind, in blast beruffled plume. However, this thrush is the spirit of life. This little thrush is the last colour in this greying world of frost and desolate landscape. And the thrush is the only colourful part in this world that we see in this poem. This thrush is tiny, especially compared to the enormity or the massive size of winter, but it gives all of itself that it has. So it's dying, it's small, it's weak, but it still sings its little heart out. By flinging his soul into the night and celebrating his own small life, the thrush gives hope to others, in particular the narrator. And this thrush allows the narrator to see that there might be something further down the road, metaphorically speaking. So there might be something in the future to look forward to, even though the winter is a hard time of year because it's cold and grey. This thrush makes us believe that better things are to come, like springtime. And while the winter is harsh, it is not the literal end of the world. It might seem like it at the time, but it is going to get warm again and it is going to get sunny again. And the earth will regrow with plants and trees, and the thrush confirms this with his song. It gives the narrator some hope, as you can see in stanza 4, when it says, some blessed hope whereof he knew and I was unaware. There's lots of imagery of death, death and decay in this poem. We have broken lyres, haunted, the century's corpse, crypt, spectra grey. So you might want to pause this now and highlight the images of death and decay, which you can see on this slide. Winter is a metaphor for death, as we saw in neutral tones. It is the end of life, the end of the cyclical annual life cycle, the end of, it's when flowers die, when trees die. So it's the end of life for 1 year. And this poem is full of references to death, as we saw on the previous slide. It's written and published at the end of the 19th century. Although the poem has 1900 written on it, the first draft was actually written in 1899, so before the turn of the century. However, although winter is a metaphor for death, within these metaphors is the sense that regrowth just might be possible. And we see this in the thrush. The thrush singing his song shows that regrowth might be possible. And it reminds us that, yes, winter is terrible, but winter eventually turns into spring. The 19th century turns into the 20th century. And it reminds us that things move on. Although it might seem difficult now, things will get easier. And that's what Thomas Hardy wanted us to see when he used the metaphor as winter showing death. Personification. This poem quite clearly has personification, and we know this because the words frost, winter, century, and hope all have capital letters. Because Thomas Hardy wants us to see these 4 things as characters. Apart from the narrator in this poem, there are no people. There are no characters. The only living thing is the thrush. So he uses these frost, winter, century, and hope as his characters. And you can see here where these characters appear in the poem. The thrush is the key character in stanzas 3 and 4. However, the thrush is not personified. He's a bird. He's only a bird. Nothing more. Thomas Hardy doesn't personify him. He doesn't make him do things that people normally do. He's just a bird. So in stanza 1, Frost and Winter are the key characters. The Frost, when Frost was Spectra grey. The Frost is like a ghost, the first of many things in this poem that are dying. And this line gives us, the reader, an image of a haunted landscape, which looks ghost-like. Winter, and winter's dregs made desolate the weakening eye of day. Wind is like a human character. So this is nature taking on human characteristics. In stanza 2, the land and the 19th century are the key characters. The land becomes the body of the century's corpse. This is the 19th century we're talking about, so the 1800s. Even non-alive things are dead. And so in this case, it's the century. Even the century is dead. We see the 19th century as a dying, human-like figure. The personification of the century brings it to life. And stanza 4. In stanza 4, Hope is the key character. This pretend character suggests that there might be hope of something beyond this life, the blessed hope. How do we know that? Because the word blessed means holy. So it's hinting that there might be something beyond this life, something in the afterlife, a heaven, hell, whatever. But it's quite positive, so it's probably heaven. The people, the only 2 times that people are mentioned in this poem is mankind and spirit. He never actually says people, which makes them seem further away. All mankind that haunted nigh is in stanza 1. It suggests that people are haunting the area. It's very evocative imagery used here. It makes the people sound like ghosts. Every spirit upon the earth. In stanza 2, Hardy is referring to people as spirits. This is symbolism, and it symbolizes that people have become nothing more than spirits or ghosts who seemed fatherless as I. So they are rolling over and playing dead, which means that they are not going out and being productive. They are sitting at home in front of their fires. Both of these, haunted and spirit, has a ghost-like feel of people. And alliteration and consonants. Pause it now and take a look at the first stanza and have a look at, see if you can see which letters are repeated. There is alliteration and consonants. Okay, there are lots of K's and G's in this stanza, both of which are very hard sounds, which mimic the sounds of breaking and cracking. So coppice, spectra, grey, gate, weakening, tangled, scored, sky, etc. The tangled, and does this sound like ice cracking? Maybe. It maybe sounds like the winter itself. The tangled vine stems scored the sky like strings of broken lyres is supposed to sound clogged, and it sounds like the tangled vine stems look. Okay, the end of this video. I'm going to make another one now, so please watch both of them. Thanks!